Welcome back to another episode here on GEMS podcast. I am your host, Genesis Amaris Kemp, and with me today is Ryan Cote. And here's a bit about Ryan. He is the founder of Morning Upgrade, a business dedicated to raising the awareness of morning routines and personal development. He is also the co-owner of Ballantine, his family's marketing agency and roofing company, and a real estate investor. Ryan lives in New Jersey with his wife and three daughters. And today we're going to unpack personal development, morning routines, as well as entrepreneurship and how Ryan got to where he is now. And we're going to pack it all up in a nice, pretty gift and put a bow on the top so we can help you jumpstart your entrepreneurship journey, or maybe a family business that you're thinking about doing, but you've heard people say, oh, you really shouldn't do business with family, and etc. So without further ado, please welcome Ryan Cote to GEMS Podcast.
Hey, Genesis, happy to be here. Excited to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Ryan. So Ryan, let's start with your journey. So what led you to really go into, well, no, I want to back up first. So we're going to talk about Morning Upgrade, since you're the founder of that, and what led you to starting your own business. So take us home with that, and then I will ask the next question.
Sure. Yeah. So Morning Upgrade, I started that in April of 2020, actually, right when COVID was starting to hit lockdown and just had more time to think. And, my mind got a chance to wander. And I was always I've always been into personal development, personal growth. It's just been a real interest of mine. I tend to just to gravitate towards the books and all that. And I was writing articles on cold showers and whatnot, morning routines, but I was putting it on LinkedIn. And then I had the thought, like, why don't I try to create a brand out of this and help even more people, like turn it into a business? And, at the time I didn't think I would have like a morning routine product and write a book and all that. For me, the seed was planted that I would just start a blog. And then a couple months later or 3 months later, I added the podcast because I felt like I had to. I had to learn all that, how it works and how to publish it and record it and all of that. And then, as I just started looking at the business, like what else can I do to raise the awareness of morning routines and personal development? That's where the morning routine cards came in and the book. And if I had to guess, in a couple of years, maybe, or maybe less, I'll probably start a mastermind because I'm really into masterminds. I belong to 3 myself. So it feels like a natural extension of the brand. And who knows where else I'll take it, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a passion project. It is a business, but it's a passion project, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
So why the name Morning Upgrade?
Well, because like my pillar habit is morning routines. That's like my pillar habit. I very rarely miss. I mean, I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 times in the last 6 months that I missed my morning routine. And one of those weeks I was in Disney World with my family. So I think one day I missed there, but so yeah, my morning routine is my pillar habit. And so I felt I like the name, like upgrading your morning, upgrade your life. And the business, the blog, the podcast, it's much more than just about morning routines. It's really about personal growth overall. But since morning routines is like my pillar habit and something I really believe in, I felt like Morning Upgrade made sense, and it was available as a domain name. I like the way it sounds. It's easy to spell, easy to say, kind of checked off all the boxes for me.
Nice. And then you mentioned that going into this, you started off thinking that you were going to do the blogs and just posting stuff on LinkedIn. And that's when you noticed you were getting a lot of traction and people were gravitating to you. And you also mentioned that it's a passion project. And a lot of people, if they start with doing something that they're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work because you're having fun doing it and you actually enjoy the space that you're in. So, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who's interested in starting a business, but they're looking at it with the monetary goals in mind versus going in it heart centric?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a side business for me. It is cash flow positive, but it is a side business. And I always, and I've had other side ventures in the past. I have other, side ventures that I don't talk a lot about, but, and I have since I was, like right out of college. And so for me, the formula that's always worked, it's worked for me. I'll just share it if it's helpful, but it's always just starting small. I mean, you have to, I agree, you have to have a passion for it. Because it's work. Like I think about like writing the blogs every week, the podcasts every week, and just the general promotion going on podcasts. It's a lot of time and effort. And so if you really don't love what you do, I know that's like common advice you hear all the time, but like I'm in the thick of it. And so I could say that it is true. Like if you don't love what you do, it will feel like work. And then what feels like work, that friction will eventually eat away at you in most cases. And so I would say, yeah, like I'm a big fan of journaling. So like, when I had this idea of Morning Upgrade or before we even had the name, I would just pen to paper, journal my ideas, like what could I do? What would the name be called? And I had a whole bunch of names. I can't remember what they were, but I had a whole bunch of names. And like, what would I talk about? What could be the channels of monetization? How would I grow it? What would my marketing channels be? And so I just, pen to paper, started fleshing out all the ideas and just let my mind wander and no bad idea, just let the pen flow. And so definitely recommend that. And then start small. And like for me, like I said, it started off as the blog. I've done it in steps. I believe in like slow and steady. That just works for me and my personality, but slow and steady, like started with the blog. And honestly, like the site you see now, it didn't look like that when I launched it. I had like a free theme up, just kind of threw it up because I believe in just, imperfect is better than no action at all. And so I launched the blog, knew I would eventually change it. And then after a few months, when I felt like I was in the groove, I added the podcast. And then after I think maybe 6 months, I did the morning routine card. And then the book was like 9 months after that. So you can see it's like kind of like stacking the blocks and just going at a pace that I was comfortable with. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm a component of journaling myself because I'm also an author. I have 2 books on the market and 3 book collaborations, and a fourth one about to drop. And I truly believe as you take time to journal, it also gives you some time to reflect on your journey so far, why you wrote what you wrote, where you came from, and then you kind of see your own personal development through your writings and etc. And then one thing that I want you to dive into are the cards that you talked about. The what promoted and prompted you to writing those morning cards, and did you take any of the things that you wrote in the cards to fill them into the book?
Yeah, good question. So, good questions. So I knew I wanted to have a physical product for the business, and I felt like it had to be tied to morning routines because that's like my pillar habit. It's what I believe in the most. And I've had many different morning routines over the years, from like the Miracle Morning hour and a half program to like then 45 minutes. It always felt like too much for me. Like with 3 little kids, I felt like I was trying to like force it into the day. So I was like, I should try to create a routine that takes like literally 20 minutes and something that checks off a lot of boxes and something I feel like will advance me, my personal growth. And so I started mapping out what that would look like. And then once I had a clear picture of that, then I had the idea, well, I should create like a journal product out of this. And I use the cards, like, where are they? That's right in front of me. Like, this is this morning, it's like what I wrote down. So it's like front and back. It asks questions like, what's your number one priority for today? What are you grateful for, etc. So every morning it's like an experience for me, pen to paper. I answer the questions. There's like a side for journaling and all that. So, um, you know, my goal with Morning Upgrade is to raise the awareness of morning routines. And so I want to get these cards in as many hands as possible because hey, it's a business obviously, but it's a product I believe in, a product I know will help. And so I kind of just, those are my thought processes. I mean, I can walk you through the morning routine if that's helpful to your audience.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what does your morning routine look like? Because you are a business owner of your own business, and you're also co-owner of Ballantine. Plus, you're a dad juggling 3 girls on top of being a spouse. So you wear different hats. And sometimes people who wear different hats, you can get busy, but then you have to ask yourself, am I busy just staying busy, or am I busy being intentional?
I think intentional is a perfect word, Genesis, because I think we all have the same 24 hours in the day. And it's all about what are your priorities? Like, what are you spending your time on? Like what you're spending your time on, those are your priorities, whether they're good things or not. And so, for my morning routine, I knew I had to get it to like 20 to 30 minutes because then I have no excuses. Like I can wake up 30 minutes before my girls get up. There's no reason why I can't. So now that I have no excuses, I am the person that does morning routine. That's like my identity now. And so, That's why it's a non-negotiable unless like I absolutely can't for some crazy reason, like I'm catching a flight super early. But even then, I could still do it, you know. So my morning routine, you know, I answer these questions like, what's your number one priority for the day? What are you grateful for? Okay. What is your biggest win from yesterday? Or what is my biggest win from yesterday? Because I'm doing this in the morning. So I'm thinking about yesterday. What was my biggest win? And these can be personal or professional. It just depends on what's going on in my world at the time. And then who will I reach out to today? So relationships are really important. So I put a question on here. So, you know, that I, you know, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a business contact. Like this morning, I'll tell you who I wrote down. I wrote down this woman, Bree, because I'm doing an interview with her in a couple of weeks, and I want to catch up with her to get on her radar and, you know, tie up loose ends. And then I've got a small spot for journaling. Okay, very small spot, like literally 2 to 3 minutes of journaling. And then I've got prompts for meditating for 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, and then a prompt for exercising for 5 or 6 minutes, you know, burpees or some continuous movement. And then I read a few pages in a book. Right now I'm reading the Everyday Hero Manifesto by Robin Sharma. It's fantastic. I recommend it 100%. So that's my morning routine every day, about 25 or so minutes.
And to be intentional when you're doing your morning routine, Ryan, do you time yourself for each segment? Because you said 2 to 3 minutes for journaling, 5 minutes of meditation, then reading the book and et cetera, just to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable with that 25 minutes.
I don't. Okay. I'll layer in something else. I'm going to sound like a crazy person here, but I've got this happy light. It's well, it's on right now, so it'll blind you if I showed it to you, but it's called a happy light. It's like UV light therapy. And so I have that shining in my face in the morning as I do my cards, and there's a timer for 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, the light goes off. And right when I'm done answering the questions and reading a few pages, it's always around 15 minutes, and that light goes off. And then I do the exercise and the meditation, which is another 10 minutes. So that usually brings me out around 25 minutes. You know, sometimes I'm quicker, sometimes I'm slower, but I don't time myself, though the happy light technically is a 15-minute timer.
That's so cool. Where'd you get your happy light at?
It's Amazon. And honestly, I got that recommendation from a guest on my podcast. So I learned from my own guest, and he was talking about the happy light. I never knew that was a thing. And I looked up on Amazon, it was only like $40. And I was like, oh, that would fold in nicely to my morning routine, because I'm at my desk writing in my cards as it is. So now I have this light shining in my face. You know, my daughter's like, what are you doing in there? You know, it's so bright. But I think they know what I do now, like who I am, you know.
Super cool. So for anyone listening, Genesis doesn't have a happy light. Feel free to send me a happy light and I'll give you a shout out. Shameless plug. So now I want to drive over into the family business aspect, Ballantine. So what did that dynamic look like whenever you were going into business with your family? And has it always been easy? Because I also want to debunk some of the myths that we've heard, not to do business with family or don't mix business and pleasure. So what has your personal journey been?
It's been a long journey. I've been with the company for 20 years now, I think it is. And my role has changed. Like, so I didn't go into the family business right out of college. I had 2 jobs right after college, both in marketing, like, you know, the marketing world. But I did not have any intention of going into the business, at least I can remember. Then when my middle brother went into the business, I think that's when I started to think about it, because I thought it'd be neat to work with him and my father, my uncle. So once the seeds were planted, then I was thinking about it more and more. I approached my father and uncle, and they said, well, I think it would work because we don't have anyone doing marketing for the company. We never have. And that's your degree. So why don't you be the director of marketing? You know, I was directing myself. There was no one to direct, but I was the marketing director. And I did that for 12 years, 13 years. And then we had the idea that it was just direct mail. And then we just had the idea to create a digital marketing division. And so that's what I spearheaded, starting off, actually going back to what I said before, slow and steady. Started off with SEO and then added pay-per-click. And then when my youngest brother came on board, added more services. And then we got our first big client that enabled us to hire our first team member. And now we're still a small business. I think there's 18 team members, including us. And so that was the journey. My father's retired now. So now it's me, my 2 brothers, my uncle, my cousin, and then other, non-family members. And I'll pause there. You asked about what it's like working with family, but I want to make sure you don't have any questions on that.
Yeah, so that's cool that you share the dynamics on how at first you didn't go into the family business, but then they said with your background with marketing, you would be an asset to the business. So then you get to work with your brothers who, and I'm sure that helps you build a relationship with them and learn more about them, not just from a personal side, but also a business side, because we see different angles whenever we change our hats. And then one thing that I do want to ask is, as you guys began to scale up the business, what were some of the struggle and pain points there? And did it bring y'all closer as a family?
Yeah. So the struggles, it's really it's hard to know when to. So like we're selling basically expertise and hours, and so like the struggle is as you get new clients, how do you know when the team's at full capacity? And maybe we just don't have a buttoned up process there. Like I'm sure there's agencies that have like real detailed notes on this many hours equals this many team members, but we kind of just go based on like what the team is telling us and all that. And we have some hours, a spreadsheet of hours, but it's not like a science, not a science. And so the struggle is, is the team at full capacity? Do we need to hire more people? Because we get new clients, but if clients leave, it's trying to figure that out is difficult. Setting expectations with clients in the marketing world, that's a big thing that I've had to learn. Like, set expectations that it's going to take this long to see results, and here's what we're working with. Here's what we think you need. Like setting those expectations has definitely been a learning process. And speaking of the word process, just the whole process of how we onboard clients, how we do the work, because there's a lot of moving parts in the marketing world, especially if we have a client that we're doing, SEO and paid search and social media. There's like dozens of variables and factors going on every month. And so the process of how we bring on a client, how we manage the workflow, how we keep the team members happy, that's been a learning process for sure, and a struggle because, for most of my career, it was just me in the marketing department. We had clients, but not in terms of me. I was just marketing for the company. So it's been a lot of learnings, some high points, some low points. I think that's why I got so big into morning routines at one point, because I had some low points where I felt like we were just mediocre, and so that was, a struggle that we got through.
And thanks for sharing that, because some people fail to really highlight those struggles and look at the lessons that came out of those struggles and how it has made them better business wise as well as personally. And then I know with the roofing company, is that under the same umbrella or is it different, Ryan?
It's under it's a different corporation, but it's under the Ballantine name. So that's a new business. My one brother was like, I want to try something different. He's still involved in like the main marketing business, but he's like, I want to try something different. And and actually it's funny because we have a lot of contractor clients on the digital side. So we were saying like, hey, we should start our own contracting business and do marketing for ourselves. That would be really neat. And how can we do it better and all that? And so he really was like, I really want to do this. And we identified roofing as a business model that we think we can really excel in. There's various reasons for that. But, and so we became officially licensed and insured. What was it, December 2021? It's funny because I do networking for I don't know if you can see my shirt, but it's Ballantine Home Improvement. Probably can't see it. But so this morning I was the roofer of the networking group. And now I'm, and today I'll be the digital marketer. So we're just kind of wearing multiple hats, but that's a new business. Nothing really, no learnings there yet because it's like a brand new business, but we're excited about it.
Super cool. Just make sure you have your SOPs, so standard operating procedures. Make sure you have tight policies and understand the regulations, as well as whenever you're going into business, if you're doing any partnerships, it's so vital to have that NDA, that non-disclosure agreement, especially when you are starting off or if you're seasoned. I guess a little sidebar, I kind of fell into looking at policies and procedures in my last role doing trade regulations and compliance for a Fortune 500 company. I'm like, wait, hold up. This is not my forte. I'm a supply chain and logistics gal. And they're like, no, you're going to do trade regulations and compliance for polyethylene. I said, come again? So it's kind of cool how you get to learn different stuff. And I want you to give the listeners as well as the viewers, Ryan, some tips for entrepreneurship. What are some things that they could be mindful of whenever they're stepping into that role? And then how can they establish marketing? Because whenever you go into entrepreneurship, it is you by yourself in the beginning until you're able to scale up. You're the marketing person, so you're your PR person, you're your accounting. You have to make sure you don't overspend. You have to have those checks and balances. You're also, the one that is going out and doing everything up until it makes sense for you to really outsource some of the things that you're not a genius on and really focus on your zone of genius. But I always tell people, don't climb don't climb too high before you find your grounding, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, good point, Genesis. So, like, to answer your question, it's been, getting clear on who you serve best. So, like, on the digital marketing side, that was one of the learnings that we had to work through when we were having some struggles, is who do we serve best? And for us, that's, manufacturing, industrial companies, contractors. Um, even on the roofing side, we've identified small to mid-sized homes that have asphalt shingles, not these big monsters with like tin roofs and whatever the material is. Not yet, at least. So we're clear, being clear on who you serve, because I think the natural pitfall is to think that you can serve everyone, but in reality, you can't. And so being crystal clear on who you serve, because I'll give you an example, like on the digital side for industrial manufacturers, we have a lot of those types of clients now. And so what happens is it's like a snowball effect. When we have to give a presentation, there's so many case studies we can give and so many logos that we can show, and it automatically just builds that instant credibility. And so the sales process gets a little bit easier over time as you get more clients. So really niching down is we've seen it to be very, very important, being crystal clear on who you're focusing on. I'm going to say personal development, like focusing on yourself as the leader. Investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. So make sure as you're building your business that you're carving out time to invest in yourself. That could be just a morning routine, but make sure that what you're putting in your earbuds is like good content, whether it's podcasts like this or books on Audible. Don't watch the news. I know it's hard right now, but don't watch the news. And what else can I say? Yeah, so two more thoughts came to my head when you're asking that question. Differentiators. So with like the roofing business, we were like, okay, we're the new guys in the block. What can we do that's different? Okay, well, same day quotes. We're going to show up super professional with nice gear, nice attire, whatever you want to call it. Fancy proposals on an iPad. Just really try to take it a step up. Not there's other roofers doing that. Of course there are, but that's going to be our differentiator. Lean on the family business, even though it's not at all related to roofing, but there's still a Ballantine legacy. And the last thing I would say is really get your skills sharp with sales and marketing. Those are very, very crucial skills. Obviously, leadership is too, but sales and marketing is you can never learn too much about those two channels or what have you, skill sets. And so, there's books you can read for sales, courses you can take, obviously experience that goes a long way. And then marketing, I can talk on that too, but that could be a whole other interview.
Those are really great tips, Ryan, and thank you so much for sharing that. So find your clarity and focus and know who your ideal avatar is. What differentiates you in light of your competitors? How are you showing up? Because first impressions are always lasting impressions. And then just make sure you really focus on sales and marketing. And some people forget sales and marketing or bigger corporations. That team is always the first team to get on the chopping block because they feel like, oh, we could take this in-house. But then sales and marketing, they actually help you, build up your revenue because they know how to target your ideal avatar. Just for example, Lululemon started out catering to women 25 years old and up, those mothers, those fit thing. Now they have, men clothing in there. And then they also have shoes that are about to drop. So they knew who their ideal avatar was. But then once they saw that there was a need, they built up. So definitely keep that in mind. And Ryan, what's your call to action if they don't remember anything else that we talked about, whether it's family business, entrepreneurship or personal development, what would you like the viewers and listeners to hold on to help them jumpstart their journey?
I mean, I want to give something specific here, man. I always like to say invest in yourself. I already said that. I think it's a mindset shift. If they're listening to your podcast, they probably already are thinking along those lines of investing in themselves. But I would say to get more specific, um, look for opportunities to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I know it's not comfortable. That's the whole point, is like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's where the growth happens. And like I know, like, and that could take the form of like me, I'm like slightly introverted. And so like what I'll do is I'll look for opportunities to strike up a conversation with a stranger, like not in a weird way, but just like casual conversation at like a food store or something like that. Um, like cold showers, um, you know, just looking for ways to just make myself uncomfortable. And I think that's really where the growth, I know that's where the growth occurs. And so I would say keep your radar open for when you feel like that, when you feel yourself pulling back because you don't want to do something, that's usually when you should lean forward and lean into it.
Beautiful. And how can the listeners and viewers connect with you? What's your business website and where do you hang out on social media?
So I'm mostly on LinkedIn, Ryan Cote, and then you've got morningupgrade.com and then ballantine.com. Those are the two sites. And I guess ballantinehomeImprovement.com if you want to look at the roofing business. We're only licensed in New Jersey though, but you could take a look at it.
Oh no, just Jersey. You got to come down to Texas.
Well, that's the growth plan. We're starting small, so eventually maybe we'll be in all the states.
And there you have it, listeners and viewers of GEMS Podcast. I'm your host, Genesis Amaris Kemp, and you just heard Ryan Cote. We talked about entrepreneurship, personal development, as well as tapping into family businesses. So I hope this segment has been very insightful for you. Remember, don't tell me that the sky's the limit when there are footprints on the moon, said by Paul Brandt. And remember, you are an asset, not a liability. Make sure you follow your dreams so you could turn those dreams into realities. And on the other side of fear is courage, because you allowed yourself to take a leap of faith to now secure yourself a better future. And remember, you can't reap if you never sow. So until we chat next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Can be found on 40 different platforms and our YouTube channel, Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp, for all things video content.